The plant is Salvia divinorum, which some of you who are real mavens of this stuff know it. In Spanish, it's called ojos de la pastora, the eyes of the shepherdess.
Okay, let's start with an experiment. Everyone likes experiments here, right? Okay, so let's all imagine we have a pipe filled with Salvia divinorum extract, 2 billion X, whatever, the strongest experience you've ever had or you've heard from your friends. We're all going to imagine together that we're going to smoke it. We're going to hold it in. And let's begin. So, get it, torch it with your heavy flame. Breathe it in, breathe it in, breathe it in, breathe it in. Hold it, hold it, hold it. Imagine the space of salvia. Imagine the space of salvia, and when you exhale, make a sound, a word, an utterance of what you just went through. And any reports back from that experience? Okay. Well, it didn't sound too pleasurable, did it? It wasn't pleasurable. Does anyone enjoy smoking salvia? That's why it is not really prohibited, more or less. It's kind of questionable, the laws there. So, it's about memory. And, we have these moments in life where we remember. And we remember something. It's like this little bell goes off. Dingle, ding, dingle. And you're like, aha, that's it. For me, I was in the 4th grade. Teacher says, okay, kids, there's these temporary tattoos going around. There's these stickers on them. They have cartoon characters, Superman, Mickey Mouse, football teams, Cowboys. And there's people who are distributing these. And they're going to want you to lick them and put them on your skin, but it's a drug. So don't do that, because this drug will make you see things that aren't there, make you taste things that you hear. And ding, 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 ding in the back of my head. It's like, wow, there's something that I could take that could make me have these experiences I've already been having. Already, as most children probably have, you have some interesting experiences being born and incarnated and, having out-of-body experiences, going up to the heavens, contacting spirits, being tested. So yeah, I had that, and it was like, wow. Okay, dingle dingle. So that day, as they were marching us back in single file, line to wherever we were going, I was nervously looking, where are these people? Who are these people? Are you these people? What kind of interesting people are these that would do this? Growing up in South Florida, it took a couple more years to realize about the mushrooms and the cows and acid coming through, so I started doing them pretty quickly. And as with our culture, self-initiation. Very heavily into it. The first time I took LSD, whoa, yeah, right? Something there, right? So that seemed like a clear path to me. So just going down that, I don't know, 500 trips plus by the time I was 19, 20. That was my path. That was the thing. And so these things called Black Pyramid gel caps came around. I'm not sure if anyone had the pleasure of dealing with those. I had an experience where I was like, I think I need to go farther. So I stayed up for 2 days and then took about 7 of those. The mothership came down, I was anointed, was brought up, showed the destruction of all the universe, I was given the master plan, your usual crap. But everyone I talked to, they were like, he's crazy. Like, rightfully so. I was high for like 4 or 5 months afterwards. I didn't even make sense to myself. You know, there was I am the Christ. Yeah, no, I'm not. Yeah, no. So, integration's a fun thing. So I don't do psychedelics for like 10 years. Like, that's gonna take a while to unpack. And, get a little more hermetic. You start to read, you start to have conversations with people. There's no real social outlet at this time. Didn't know how to use a computer. I don't know if there really was much of a computer thing happening. And during that time, I had heard about DMT and Salvia and sort of the similarities of these things bring you directly into contact with other beings, other worlds, and that was a lot of bell. That triggered something. I was like, whoa. My problems I think with the psychedelics was it took so much to kind of get to the good stuff. You gotta get through all that. I mean, I'm not a pleasure-seeking person. I don't really even like to get high except for caffeine. So, for me, all the goods was post-pleasure, cathartic kind of stuff. Really tapping into the grid about reality. And so it seemed that somehow Salvia, especially, was something that everyone was like bringing the same story back. And it took me a couple of years to find some. I was touring, playing music around a lot, and I ended up in Texas at this venue where they made money by producing and smoking Salvia, and I smoked some, and it was so paranoia, ascension, come on home, you did it, remember this, then just floored me, humbled me, completely scared me too, because I was sort of in this dry phase of psychedelia in my life, and whatever. Major imprint, kind of like, all right, that thing's in the background. Life happens, going through a spiritual crisis, find myself traveling, drinking ayahuasca, South America, with my wife, and after being dismembered and reassembled and yada yada, the message, like, welcome home. You're good at this. This is you've had the training or the experiences, and you understand this, and you've been missing out, and you need to get back into this space. But I'm not it. Like, don't mess with me. There's too much power. There's too much warfare involved in this ayahuasca thing. Go back to America. Like, find your zone. America. Mickey Mouse. Here we go. So, come back home to Baltimore, and lo and behold, the big no doubt across the world that psilocybin can cause mystical experiences, those kind of things. And so this is sort of like this new era happening in the same city that I'm happening in, and it's like they're looking at psychedelics and mystical experiences. So I find myself in a drug study, 609, doing, going to the edge of the universe and vomiting and breaking all this stuff down in personal history and stuff. And Matt Johnson comes in. It's like, yeah, we're trying to think about to get a Salvia divinorum study going on. We might be injecting it. I don't know how we're going to figure out we might be smoking it, this kind of stuff. And I think at that moment, it was really like, oh man, big old bell. You're gonna smoke Salvia in the research study. I just started like, okay, all right, okay, this is where it's going. So, from there, I just started really getting into the plant, reading about it, knowing, going into it, that the plant isn't really wanting to be smoked, but I'll do it anyway. So I go on to smoke, for a couple sessions with at there. 16 sessions later, I'm not even going to go into it, but confronting death, being total trickster type of experience, and the whole experience of having such short, active psychedelics, no bridges between worlds, right? You're here, next thing you know, you're there. Where's the integration? Where's the come? It's all about that. That's where all the work is. So my integration, my experience was, this is a message I think most people get is in Salvia is like, how do you bring this back down? How do you bring it into the world? So that's where my integration worked on. So my integration was about how do I bring this back into the world? So I started exploring tinctures. I burnt my mouth a bunch, yeah, highly inefficient. Started chewing, started looking at the syrups, at the honey stuff people were making. Kind of decided that chewing was sort of the best. And when I started chewing, it had, I guess I would say a lot of the experiences with smoking were embedded in me, and that I was unpacking them later, sort of like that, Philip K. Dick kind of light zap kind of experience where you have to unpack and decode it later on. So a lot of the work for me was to understand the process of salvia. So I would do salvia, listen to salvia, talk to salvia while I was chewing it, and then understand how to amplify it. So one of the clear message was silence, no movement, darkness. And then salvia was like, get an isolation tank. And I had, $500 in my bank account. I'm like, what? Okay, I don't know, I can't afford these things. And then salvia was like, go look on Craigslist. All right, Baltimore Craigslist, isolation. Oh man, why did you have to put this up? Really? Okay, I guess I gotta come over. I don't know how this is going to work, but I feel like I should do this. I don't either. I feel like you're the guy. So, So, you set the isolation tank up, and they're going to start pounding at your door. So, in that time, it's great. It's given me room to actually work with people that are, working on integrating this stuff, and I have an income, and I can slowly expand while I do this research. And so, the research is good. My main focus was, okay, so how do you marry the smoked with the chewed? And so without going into much detail, increasing the intensity of the chewed experience, it's subtle but can be profound, but you have to continually do it. And the more you do it, the more that your mind pattern starts to imprint the architecture within that space, and you're able to go deeper and deeper into it. So that's the funny survival mechanism, I think, of salvia, where the more you do it, the more sensitive you get to it. So you have no, if I'm trying to tell you about it, and you have an experience, it may be mild, but I'm getting a really strong effect, but you're getting a really mild effect. That's an interesting way for it to reproduce. If you look at the stem, it grows, it drops, shoots out roots, it grows again. So it's embedding sort of mystery into us to reproduce. And go and take a drink. So in the work of figuring out how to make salvia extracts orally active, I would do it, sit in my lab, meditate on it, do it, listen to salvia, and salvia kept saying, stop trying to break me down into little pieces. You're only going to get a certain effect. So there would be times where I would actually see, I don't know, I'm sort of a very crude alchemist more than a chemist, so it would just show me how to do things. Okay, you do it this way, do it this way, think about it like this, okay. And then I'd go and I'd reproduce it, and then it'd be like, what other herbs can we add to amplify the process? What do I see as the healing mechanism? Is it memory reprocessing? Okay, what are the memory herbs? What are the ones that are going to help guide into that experience? And so I would do that, have these experiences, like, oh, that's pretty good, call up some friends. Can you come over? What's your effect? And so we started mapping all this down, writing everything down, piling it up, coming up with sort of a working model to see what the best way to dose was. What's the best setting? What's the best set? What's the way to work with the compound? What's the way to expand it? So I got a pretty good powder at the moment. So it's held in the mouth, and it dissolves in the mouth, and it delivers a pretty good, stable stream of salvinorin A to your brain. I think it's pretty nifty. I don't know, and part of this work too, I've also, one of the problems with salvinorin A is that the crystal doesn't absorb through the stomach. Well, guess what it does? Yeah, you just gotta kind of work with it a little bit. So this starts to open up bigger questions, like, what does the plant want? What does the plant's agenda, like, what is the social structure that we can build around this that will encourage this? Sort of little uncharted territory, but it requires, listening to the plant, listening to yourself, being honest to yourself, and I don't know, being open. That's the, one of the main memory components of Salvia is that you have to leave your model of reality at the door. That is the price of admission is to pay it. I don't know anything. That's why you have such a high childhood kind of thing, is that you're completely opened up. And the categorizing part of reality stays very intact. So it's I find it to be one of the most mechanical, grounding, safe psychedelic that there possibly is. And why? It's still basically illegal. So, this is, who cares? Okay, we don't have to ask for permission. There's plants out there. Hang out with the plants. Sure, MDMA, psilocybin, ayahuasca, okay, this stuff is good, and we're crafty because we have privilege to kind of, drug laws are selectively enforced to kind of use these in systems. But what's the next step? How do we build a system, right? How do we build a society? How do we build a center where people can come and do this? And I'm listening, and I'm asking questions, and I'm being open. And I asked Salvia, how do you want to do this? Salvia said, get a tank. That's the interface between these worlds. Okay, got a tank. Now people come. It's amazing to see how, obviously I'm dealing with a small subset of humanity that's coming to float an isolation tank, but that is every kind of person, every kind of background, all different walks of life, every social structure, in small communities and scenes and stuff. There's one or two people they're the one who goes out and tells everyone else what's going on in reality. And those people, you get all them together, and then you start to really, those waves will continue to ripple. I could keep going, but let's get questions. Let's go. Anyone have any questions? I want to open it up. All right. Okay.